Hi everyone, how are you all going? I hope you are all well. As promised, I am here today in this video to show you how I made this card. For those of you that might be watching that have only just found my Facebook business page, I'm Caroline from Carousel Crafts, but to all of my other lovely ladies who used to follow along in a live video version on Facebook, hi to everyone. Okay, so I'll get started showing you the products that I'm going to be using to make this card today. Beautiful card. I love this. First of all, I've got the Hues of Happiness Designer Series paper. This beautiful paper, along with the suite of products, can be found in our Annual Catalogue on pages 108 and 109. So it's a beautiful double feature page there showing you the DSP, the gorgeous glossy dots assortments that come within the suite, and the stamp set and the coordinating dies, the Blossoming Happiness dies. So if you have your Annual Catalogue, you'll need to look up pages 108 and 109. You'll find that there. All right, so that's our beautiful DSP. It has all these gorgeous, gorgeous flowers that you can die cut directly from the page. You might need to do, well, you will need to do a little bit of fussy cutting, but the Blossoming Happiness dies coordinate with this DSP pack, and each of the dies coordinates with a flower or a rose here on our beautiful DSP paper. We have a few other die cut elements there as well, or dies there as well. Okay, so it's the coordinating die set. Then I've used, I'll bring back in the card, not quite so easy to see because I have covered most of the scalloped edge up, but I'm using the Scalloped Contours dies, and I'm using the Scalloped Edge die from that set. I used the Brick and Mortar embossing folder to create the dry embossed texture on that piece of basic white. That's our regular basic white cardstock. Then the sentiment is from the Go-To Greetings, and I'm using this Happy Birthday stamp down here that I've already mounted on my acrylic block. And then I'll be using a little strip of scrap of Melon Mambo, which I'm going to heat emboss the sentiment onto, and we will trim that out. I will trim that out with my little guillotine. And then I have gone ahead, to save time, and, oh, of course, some basic pearls to embellish. It was such a lovely pattern of DSP here. I thought there was enough going on, and so I've just used some beautiful basic pearls to embellish the front of that card. And then I've gone ahead, as I mentioned, to save time, and I have pre-cut leaves and flowers from the DSP. Okay, so now it's just a matter of constructing the card. All right, I've started with a card base of 8 by 8 1/4, and I've cut this from a sheet of our thick basic white A4 cardstock. So we just need to score this, and I will need to score, make sure I've got the right measurement there. So I want the 8-inch edge at the top, bringing in my Stampin' Trimmer, and I want to score at 4 inches. So that's down the center to create this lovely slimline card. Okay, so we have that. Go ahead and burnish, fold and burnish. Bone folder to help with that process. And I always like to feel the edge to see what front or back, what opens easiest. And you'll feel a little tiny bit more on the front of the card, and that makes it easier to open. If I was to do it this way, it's not quite so easy. Okay. Got some lovely sunshine pouring through my craft room window here that I'm very happy about. I will need to get the die cutting machine out to die cut my brick and mortar embossed piece of, this is the regular weight cardstock. I've cut a piece of the DSP to 3 3/4 by 8, and that will be attached to the front of the card. And I used dimensionals in the original card here. I think I'll go ahead and use the, just reaching over, foam adhesive sheets to attach at this time. You do go through quite a lot of dimensionals to get the right amount of strength in this sheet of DSP. I could back that with some basic white, regular weight cardstock if I wanted to. I'm quite happy just to go ahead and attach it with the foam adhesive. So I will cut that to size when that comes around, but we will go ahead and die cut that in a moment. I also have a piece here of our regular weight basic white cardstock, and this measures 3 3/4 by 8, and that will be the inside layer of our card. And I have an extra rose, which I'm going to pop down in the bottom right hand corner, as I've done on this card as well. That just adds a little bit of interest and brings the front of the card into the inside as well, onto the inside. Okay, so I will get the die cutting machine and the scalloped edge die from the scallop contours, and we will cut that out. And I should have said, so just excuse me for, I'll just digress for a moment. Go back to the page that the suite is on. And I actually don't think it is. No, I'm sorry, it isn't that page at all. I'm wanting page 96. And the inspiration for that card came from page 96 of the Annual Catalogue. And it's this card here that uses the scalloped edge on an angle. And then it has the beautiful colour and contour flowers from that die set, from that stamp set as their main feature. But I thought this would be a nice little something a bit different. I'm still keeping with the same layout, but using the different products. Okay, so if you want to have a look at that, it's page 96, and it's this card here that I have drawn my inspiration from. Okay, so now I'll bring that die cutting machine in, and you can see just enough of it there, I think. It does seem unusual doing a video this way and not having any feedback from comments, but this is certainly, this is what's working for me at the present time. So I will need some washi tape, which I've got a piece stuck to the top there. I want a fair length of this so that I can fit all of those lovely roses on. I might even come down a little bit further this time, just to allow me some room. And I'm really just doing this by eye, just getting a bit of a feel for where that die is going to sit. And I want a good portion of each, a good portion of a scallop on the edges there. So I think I can go ahead and very carefully lay this die in place and put some washi tape over that. So I won't be using the bottom section, I'm only using the top. And I'll run that through the die cutting machine. One pass through should be plenty. Often I do go over it twice, but I think, yes, one cut was perfect. And I've got some lint and stuff on there from my plate, but that's okay. I'll pop that out of the way. That's all we need the die cut machine for. And that's the section that you'll have left over. You could certainly use that again on another project if you'd like. It's quite an interesting little piece there. Okay, so I'll bring back the card base, and I want to layer this embossed section on top, and that's just going to be added with some multi-purpose glue, which I have. I'm using the multi-purpose glue that we have in our Stampin' Up! Catalogue, and all I've done is dispense that into this little glue tube here. I find it much easier to work the glue if it has a finer tip. So that comes out quite often, that little fine tip, and I'll just pull off some of the old glue there. Okay, so we will attach, or I'll attach just running the glue over, putting plenty on the inside of the card as well, on the inside of that die cut as well. Okay, then I just want to match the corners and the sides. Okay, look at that lovely texture. It's really quite pretty. I'll just put this aside while I grab my, I think we might do the sentiment next. So I've got this piece of Melon Mambo, little scrap, and got all of my embossing bits and pieces here. Grab my stamp, happy birthday. I'll just prepare the surface of this scrap. With the embossing buddy, which is just full of powder, that it does help to prepare that surface for the embossing. Okay, and some Versamark to the stamp. Okay, and then I will endeavour to do my best and get this stamped in a manner. I'm just looking at my other card to see how much I trimmed off, so hopefully just hold that down for a few seconds to allow the Versamark to transfer onto the cardstock, and that looks as if that's done that quite nicely. I still use my little containers that hold my embossing powder in, and I just use a plastic spoon to pour the powder over the top. Give that a little shake, give it a little click, just make sure, or a flick, just make sure that you haven't got any embossing powder that's laying where you don't want it to be. That looks pretty good to me, so I'm happy with that coverage, and certainly no reason why you can't go back over and just do that one more time. Once again, get rid of that excess powder. I think that's better coverage there now. See a little tiny. Not quite happy with that. Pop the lid on that. Bring my heat tool in, so you'll have to excuse the noise. I'm caught up here on. Okay, so I'll just turn that on for a few seconds. I don't think I can bring that. Yes, I can. Okay, so this is our heat tool, letting that heat up just for a few seconds, and then we'll see the magic happen, hopefully. I mostly heat from the bottom, just keeping an eye, making sure that I'm melting that powder. Yes, I can see that working. I'm not sure if it's picking up on the video. It's a bit hard to concentrate what I'm doing down here and look up at the screen of the camera as well. Okay. Yes, that's beautiful. That's so lovely. Never get over the magic of heat embossing. Some powder left there from the embossing buddy. All right, so I'll just give that a few seconds to dry and then I'll trim that down. Bring the sample back in. So really I just trimmed as close as I could without it looking too close. Just trimmed this down with the little guillotine that I have here, hoping that I get it as straight as I can. I think that's a fairly straight edge, so I may be able to push that to the top and get a nice straight edge on this. Oh, I think that looks okay. And we might trim this edge as well while we're at it. If you trim not quite enough off, at least you can always go back in and retrim. Once you've trimmed it too close, there's certainly no going back from there. So now just having a look to see if that is nice and straight, and it certainly does look that way. And I think that might be, yeah, that's quite lovely. So that was trimmed down to fit. I think it's slightly bigger than my original one, but only slightly. But actually I think I can see where that's not quite straight enough, so it's a bit particular about these sorts of things. So I think that's a bit straighter, and it's probably could do with a slightly less edge. Yep. Okay, never hurts to go back and just, if you've got the room, go back and trim it up to where you're happy with it. All right, so let's bring in our other lovely flowers and leaves. So I've got a couple of these gorgeous leaves here, and the same with these ones here. So we've got all of our elements here. Some I have glued on with the wet glue, some I have attached with dimensionals. And we could start working on putting this together. So what I wanted to do this time was see if I can place the roses so that there's a bit more of the scalloped edge showing, because you certainly can't see really any of that there except for this small bit down the bottom. I tended to cover quite a bit of it up there. So first of all, I'd like to put the leaves, and I love the idea of it hanging just over the edge a little. So if I sort of I'm just kind of copying what I have here on the original card and working from there. Also with the shape of how I put the rose down, if I do that here too. But as I said, this time I certainly want to make sure that I get enough of the scallop showing this time. And I might even put this down a little tiny bit lower so that that is possible. So last time I had this sitting up underneath, something similar to that. And our other leaves, and down here kind of. These die cut flowers just make it so easy to create such a lovely card. If we dry fit this first, it gives us an idea of where we might need to move things, and then we just need to remember where we've placed everything. It looks like I had actually 3 of these and I've only cut 2. So we might just have to work with that today. And then this one I had here. So already it's there's a little tiny bit more of that scalloped edge showing, so perhaps I don't really need that extra leaf down there, so perhaps we might just work with what I've got there. I don't think I cut another leaf, no. Bear with, and I'll see if I actually have a leaf over here. No, I don't. So I won't put you through watching all that. I'm sure that's all I had. Okay, although I do think I will, actually. It's my famous last words, and the girls that watched regularly will know that I sort of never quite content. When I said yes, I think that's it. It wasn't always quite right. So I'm going into the DSP with my paper snips. And this is called fussy cutting, so I want this little leaf down here. And if I fussy cut that, I can then take that to the die cutting machine. I won't bother bringing that back in and boring you with that, but I will grab the coordinating die for that leaf image. And it's just a matter of placing that over the top and running it through the machine, so I'll do that. Right, yes, I'm much happier with my decision to cut another one. However, I'm starting to do that again, aren't I? I'm starting to cover up that scallop, and I really, really do like it. So now that I've said I've gone ahead and cut another one, perhaps I didn't really need it after all. This is the trick. I was never any good at arranging flowers in a vase, so this is where I struggle, is the arranging of this type of thing on a card. I can go over this a little because this will be attached to the actual base, so I can go slightly over, and that is exposing more of that scalloped edge. And so I'm just trying to see whether or not, instead of maybe this leaf, I can change it out for another one of these. I just don't want it to be too much, that's all. I think that does look better. And then I might be able to use this one somewhere else. Might even go with that. What do you think, girls? No one's going to answer me today because it's not alive. I think that's okay. I think I will stick with that layout there. So if I'm very careful, I won't disturb that, or at least I might be able to remember where everything is. I've got more dried glue on there. So I might just pick this up and add some glue to the back. So we're just putting it together now. Have that going over just slightly. Okay, and the same thing here. Can hear that wind picking up outside. Might just be able to move that out of the way because I don't want that to stick onto that yet. I'll pop that sentiment on with some wet glue as well. And that can go right to the edge of this. And I'll just turn it so that I can make sure that I'm straight. Once it's glued on, it's a bit hard to move then. So that's looking pretty straight on there. Right, so I will be popping that one up on dimensionals. So we'll put our next leaf down. I think it was about there. What I should have done was actually put this on, so I might even go ahead and do that. So dimensionals on that one. I think everything else apart from that, I think that got a dimensional as well. So I'll add dimensionals to these. And I'll just cut up a few of these to use on the card. If I put that more to the top, I might have a bit more room. So always use up every little scrap that you have of your dimensionals because it's sticky right to the edge of that sheet. So always use that up. Okay. Take the backing papers off. And once again, I'm just looking at my sample there to see where I've actually placed that. And I think those leaves are actually helping too. So I think I'm happy with that there. Gives me enough room to put a pearl there. Okay. And put some glue down here, hopefully. I'm doing this correct. I kind of did want that coming out from the sentiment edge there. So I've got a dimensional up here, a little tiny bit of our wet glue down here, just to give it a little bit more definition. And so some height here, but flat to the card surface there. Right, now we're going to think about our other rows and where we might want to put those leaves. So again, wanting to leave some of that scalloped edge exposed. So it's looking totally different already, isn't it? You can certainly turn your flower around. I think I'd be happy with that there. I'm just wondering if it needs to be put up on dimensionals. I might put a couple up here. So get a bit of that. Turn it that way. It's got that little zigzaggy edge which fits in there better, and then some wet glue down here. Try and leave a little bit of space in case I want to put some leaves under it. Okay, so we still want some of that scallop exposed, but we don't want to put it over, right over the top of the wording there. Okay, gives me a bit more room to can lift that a little bit. Yep. So some wet glue on the back of this little leaf. Just put that down there. So there we go. Happy with that. And then here it is here. Losing things. And did we decide that we might put it up there? I'm going to go with that. All right, so I'll glue on the back of this one. There we go. I've done it again though. I've covered up most of the scalloping, but you get the idea. You get the idea. And then of course the addition of some pearls, but we might leave that till last. It's good getting rid of some scraps here. All right, and I think we'll put some of our foam adhesive sheet on the back of that. We'll just cut a few pieces up so that they fit there. This is the great thing about the foam adhesive sheet. You can cut it to whatever size you like. So if I use some pieces along the edge here, this will certainly help to firm up this piece of DSP. We give it enough of a cushion, nice firm cushion for that to sit on. Might go down the middle here, just for that bottom edge. We'll do a square in there, I think, or a bit of a square of it in there. Top. I love that Stampin' Up! Have so many different options for our adhesives, because there are so many different jobs that each of them do. A little piece left over there, that might actually be all that I need, really. Okay, I think that will be quite firm, so I'll bring the card base back in. Give that another press down so it doesn't open up as much, or we can certainly open it out that way. So take all the backings off our foam adhesive. Now's the tricky part, trying to make sure that I get this centered, so I'll go up on tippy toes as best I can and just hope and pray that where I sit this will be exactly where I want it. Because once it's on, and I can't do a single thing about it. So there we go. I think we've done well. There we go. Quite happy with that. It's another lovely, lovely card. All right, let's do our inside, which is extremely simple. It's just a matter of gluing our 3 3/4 by 8 inch piece of our regular white cardstock inside. turn that. Much easier to see. Turn it. And just making sure that I've got the right even amount of space above, below, and each side. And I have. And I've got a lovely little rose here, and I thought that I would attach a little bit of leaf down here as well in this bottom corner. So that's all there is to it really, just a matter of working out where you would like that leaf to sit. So fuss as much as you want. I give you permission to do so. So wet glue. There we go. All right, so that's the inside done. All that's left now is our adding our basic pearls, and I've used, by the look of it, I've used the smaller ones there. Have I used small or medium? No, definitely the small. So there's a little one here, all on his own. So we'll pop them, and I'll do very similar placement to what I've done the original card. And I think there's 5 in total. Oh, I can see that I've got a little bit of glue there. That's okay. That's okay, we don't mind a little bit of glue. There we go. Alright, so that's how I made this card with the lovely Hues of Happiness suite of products. Didn't use the glossy dots, didn't use the stamp set, but certainly used the beautiful DSP and the coordinating dies to create the card. So I'm quite happy with both of those. All right, and once again there's the inside, which looks quite pretty. All right, I'm going to have a little look at the video. I'll edit out some bits if there's some boring bits or silly bits, and then I'll upload this to Facebook, which you will be watching hopefully when that's up ready for you to see. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for pressing play to see what I was getting up to today, and take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye for now.